Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. I think my camera has changed settings. I don't know why. It's got me like zoomed in now. Let me back up a little bit. I don't know. I don't know what it's doing. I don't think it was that tight before. Uh, it is Monday, June 16th, 2025, and middle of summer. It's hot, humid, rain, storms, all kinds of. We'll not even go into that side of things. Political stuff going on. I'm not even going to talk about any of that because it's just not worth it. But man, which way is this thing aimed? Nope. I don't know why this camera feels like it's zoomed in on me for some reason. Anyway, uh, I do this. If you're new to my live stream, I do this on Monday nights at 7 o'clock, and I try to talk about classic cars, mainly Mustangs, but we can talk about just about anything. My time frame for classic cars is 55 to about 1980, and I mention this every time just so everybody is familiar with the bracket that I'm referring to. Um, Again, I don't know if this is the way this has always looked, or if I'm just now noticing it because normally I sit up here, and it feels like it's zoomed in on me a lot more. So I'll just keep going with it. It is what it is, right? Now, as you know, I've been working on the Cobra Jet project, and things are coming along very nicely. Everything is sanded and buffed, and I still need to put the stripes on the hood, which we all know. That's not the priority at the moment. I want to get as much done as I can with all the other pieces on the car. So I've been putting up the extensions and the deck lid and all that stuff. And today I put the stripes on the quarter extensions and across the deck lid. And let me tell you, it's not that hard, honestly, but you want it to be just right. I mean, you don't want to have it off whatsoever. So I'm working on a video of that process, but they turn out really nice. I'll probably try to post a picture later if I can remember to pull it up. But they turn out really nice, and I want to get the letters on the back of the car. Um, Let me see if I don't know if I know I sent those, but I want to get the letters across the back of the deck lid as well. There we go. Wait a minute. Why did it do that? So I'll download a picture here so you can see. Now these decals, they come with a white retaining sticker, whatever, however you want to call it. So it's part of, the stripes are molded or cut to the shape, and then the laminate holds it in place until you put it on the car. And so here's a quick shot. So there's a big piece of white material that holds that sticker in position. And I ended up trimming down part of the outer portion because where it comes down and meets the flows into the quarter extension, it gets narrow, and I was having trouble with making that make sense. So it was easier to just trim down the material to where I only had so much to work with. But I have that on right now, and I'm going to get the letters on, and I think I'll probably try to get maybe just the back stickers on the side for now. I'm not worried about everything in front of the wheelhouse or the wheel opening. I think the back section I can do that because there's nothing to judge it against. You measure it off and you apply it, and that's it. Like there's not another piece butted up against it. So where the door and the quarter and the door and the rocker, the door and the fender meet, that's where your transitions are. I also learned something. Thankfully, I would have figured it out anyway, but the way these stickers are cut or decals, they are cut at a slight angle based on where they fit on the car, or they're designed to have a slight angle. So where it meets the fender, it has that kind of angle to it. So it's easy to get those where they need to be. You can't, I say can't, you shouldn't be able to mess that up. But on the door piece, I didn't realize that the sticker actually is wider at the back and narrows down. Now, it still is identified. You can tell which, by the way that it's cut, how it goes onto the car. But I didn't realize that it actually tapered, like it was wider in the back and tapered down towards the front section. So just something I learned today when I was reviewing how that stuff goes on the car. But as of now, things are looking pretty good. I did mention on Patreon and stuff that there's going to be more parts coming. The guy that's kind of helping me put some of this back together, he's ordering some parts and he's going to provide me with some parts to try to get stuff together. Like I was looking at, I'll show you real quick. You probably remember that the wing windows, when I took them out of the car, like this post is rusted off. Okay. And of course the trim is no good. And the little handle down here is all pitted up. So ideally, it'd be nice to buy these already put together. We may be buying just the trim pieces and salvaging the glass because this is the tinted glass that this car came with. But stuff like that, it adds up quick whenever you're trying to put things together. You don't want to have good hardware, good clips, good screws, all those sort of things, and it just adds up. So anyway, that's a quick overview on the status of the Cobra Jet. And if, like I said, if you're new here, I encourage you to be involved. If you have a subject matter you want to bring up or talk about, by all means, do that, and we'll discuss it as best we can. If I don't have a good answer for you, then these people over here in the chat box always help out. So let's see who's here tonight. And first in, Rick Stevenson. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Rick. Rick is my coffee supplier. My what I don't even know what they call them. I don't know what they call them. Like when you're a junkie and you've got a supplier. So Rick provides me coffee, and I appreciate that. I'm glad you're here, Rick. Terry Keithley, hi all, and Barry. Please hit the thumbs up and like button for Barry. Thank you kindly, Terry and Betty and the cats. Thank you, sir, and thank you, Betty, as well. Yeah, Rick is my pusher. That's the word I wanted to use. Rick is my coffee pusher. Steve Reed, hello, Barry and everyone. Hope everyone's doing well, and give Barry a thumbs up. Yes, by all means, make sure you do that. Yeah, I'm gonna have some interesting stuff to talk about in a minute because this past week or so has just been a head spinner. Dave Tyson, good evening, all from stormy Minnesota, and probably in more ways than one. But glad you're here, Dave. Troy Justit, good evening from coastal Georgia. The CJ is looking great. Looking forward to seeing it with the stripes on. Yes, me too, and everything else, and on a trailer, and down the road. Robert, Infernal Craftsman, good evening all. Got partway through the yard mowing and quit. 96 degrees and humid. Summer is over, and in transition to misery season now. Was a much longer and wetter summer this year. Well, maybe it won't last too long, and you can go back into late summer. Glad you're here, Robert. Hugh, hello, Barry, and Classic Car Friends. I started working on my hunting season locations today. Between hunting and working on old cars, I don't have time for anything. I get it. I have some things I'm going to talk about that just, like I said. Hugh says, had two big car shows planned last weekend. They got rained out. Got one this Sunday, and it's supposed to be 105 degrees. Not sure if I'm going out or going or not. Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. David, Bullheart guy. Good evening, Barry. Hello, all. Hello, David. Glad you're here. Gerhard. Good evening, Barry. All the way from Canada. Welcome, sir. Glad you're here. Hugh says camera looks the same as always to me. Yeah, I guess maybe it is, but I don't remember feeling it like it was this close. I don't know. Maybe it's just I have a big head, big chunky head, and I have this green hat on tonight, making a big difference. David, the camera looks the same from this side. Okay. Rusty's Restoration. Hello, all. And Barry, the car's looking awesome. Give a thumbs up. Yes, thank you, Rusty. Hugh says we always count the nose hair, so I think the camera is like it always is. Yeah. Well, that's good to know. Jiggy. Greetings. My pool beckons, so I'll catch the replay tomorrow. A question about how many spot welds go around the cowl on a 65 to 66. All of them. All of them. I forget the count now. It's like 125 or something like that. I don't remember what the actual number is, but it's something like 125, I think. Just replace all the ones you took out. That's all you got to do. Rick Stevenson, the stripes on the deck look great. Yeah, they do. I'm very pleased with the alignment on those. Richard, good evening, Barry. Slither is looking awesome. Yes, thank you, sir. Denny Albee, good evening, all. Good evening, Barry. I'm in the market for a new welding helmet. What are most using? Thanks. Well, welcome, Denny. And I can tell you the ones I've been using by default is one that was provided to me by Yes Welder, which is working fine. I have no issue with it. And the other one was provided to me by Art Captain. Both work fine. I don't have any issue with either of them. I also have a Miller, and I've got some old generic, non-electric welder or welding helmets that I never use. But yeah, currently I've just to show you, I've been using this Art Captain right here, Clear Max, and this is like their lesser version because they sent me two of these. They sent me this one and then like a bigger one with like more features. But I really like this one because it works well and doesn't get in my way too much. So that's what I've been using for the most part. Gerhard, I'm trying to figure out our age gap. How old are you, Barry, if you don't mind me asking? I don't mind at all. On paper, I turned 58 last month. On paper. Now, how old do I feel? That depends on the day, but probably add 10 years or so onto that. How old do I feel in my head? Probably subtract 20 years. That's kind of how I look at it, maybe even more. Yeah, I'm 58. 58. And, I feel like I'm in okay shape for somebody my age. There's a lot of people that are worse off than I am. And, of course, there are people that are better off than I am. But I feel like I'm pretty average at this point. So, in fact, I went to I had a physical done by the VA last week. I guess it was last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. Now I don't remember. And we're looking at my numbers, and they, like, oh, this is good, this is good, this is good. And I was kind of making a joke with the doctor because he said your A1C, which I guess is like something with sugar. He says your A1C is just a little bit on the high side. And I asked him, "What's that? What is that?" He said, "Oh, it's your sugar." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I eat a lot of sugar." He was like, "Don't tell me that." Yeah, I kind of survive on sugar, it seems. But yeah, that's a age I'm at right now. Dave Conville, good evening, Barry. Paint and decals looking awesome. Thank you. I agree. Going to look even better when it's not in my garage anymore. Mark, good evening, everyone. Good evening, sir. Betty Keithley, thumbs up for Barry and all he does. Hit the like button. Also, have a great show. Betty, Terry, and the Fur Babies. Thank you, Betty. Art Man, good evening. Good evening, sir. Welcome. Denny says on the quarter glass of Slither, the quarter behind. Oh, wait a minute. On the quarter glass of Slither, the quarter behind the glass is blacked out. You can see body color when closed, if not. So you're talking about this where the channel is, or inside the quarter. Basically, anything inside of the glass is what you're saying should be blacked out. Is what I'm think I'm hearing. So I'll have to take a look at that. Thank you, sir. Hugh says, talking about deck lids, I sent you pictures of mine. I put a new seal on it, and it won't adjust right. I adjust the latch all the way down, and it still don't sit upright. I don't want to cut the new weather stripping. Any ideas? The weather stripping is always a challenge, and depending on what brand you have, will also dictate how well they fit. So I see what you're talking about. And I can't say there's an easy answer. What I can say is it depends on the who makes it, basically. So like Real Steel, I think is one that I've used before, or Steel Rubber Products. That's one I've used before. And there's some are super soft and some are kind of stiff. But I can't like say this is the best one. I can't just I don't know which one may be best at this point. Let me see if I can't. Oh, wait a minute. I'm trying to download. I'm trying to load one of your pictures, but it's not working at the moment. Who knew? Let me see if I can get rid of this one. Try to add one more. I downloaded it, but it's not. Yep, I don't know what's going on. So, but there are variations to these seals, and like I said, some are really soft and give up easily, and some I've had people that have cut them off. The one that I used in Jade, if I remember, it was one of those that had the kind of like a bird mouth shape to it. So if you have the one that's got like a solid side all the way around, that one may not collapse very well. But the one with the bird mouth, it seems to work pretty good. That's what I put in Jade, and it seems to work well. My Mach 1 for life. Have you ever dealt with polyurethane bumpers? Okay. Let me think about what you're asking for a second. So when you say bumpers, I'm assuming you're not talking about like, are you talking about like car bumpers, like the front and back bumper, or are you talking about axle bumpers? Give me a little more information on what the question is, because that bumpers covers several items. Just saying. Give me some parameters on that. And we'll discuss it. Mark, big car show this weekend. MSRA back to the 50s draws 10,000 to 10 to 12,000. I guess 64 and older cars. We're going rain or shine. Wow. Okay. MSRA back to the 50s. That sounds pretty cool. That's a lot of cars. I know I'll be going to. I plan to go to just south of us is Sonoya, Georgia, and I think it's September. They do a big car show, and big for us there is like 600 cars, because Sonoya is not a big town, and so they park them everywhere around the town, and it's usually a pretty good turnout. Rick Stevenson, I will unfortunately be in Mexico this week. Oh, yeah. Sorry. That doesn't sound good. Gerhard says 48 here. Yeah, so 10 years. I quit count. I always told my wife and kids I quit counting at 38 anyway. Hugh says I use the same stripping you put on Jade. I ordered the same part number you used. Huh. That's okay. I don't know then. I don't know what could be fighting with it. I can look at those pictures a little more, and I don't know why they're not letting me upload. And sometimes you just have to give it time. Sometimes. Okay. So my Mach 1 is talking about front bumpers on a 1973. I have not dealt with those that I remember. Now they used those kind of bumpers all through the early 70s, even on Camaros and Firebirds and stuff. And they had a problem with them shrinking from this, just getting shrinking down and not wanting to bolt into place. Um, I don't have an easy answer for you on any of that stuff because it's just terrible. I'll just be honest; those things were terrible. So I don't know what I can offer for you. You're asking foam repair, primer, type of paint, etc. Yeah, Robert might have some information on that, maybe, but I don't. Um, it's just a really bad design. Now I don't know what's available for those things. Like I'm just reaching out in the thought process. Does anybody make a fiberglass one or something else? I don't know anything about those cars and what's available for them at all. So I have no idea. But I'm wondering if somebody makes like a fiberglass one. Um, Otherwise, you're kind of at the mercy of whatever you have. They do sell products that you can fix those things, but just it's just a bad design. It's just a really bad design. And he says, yes, terrible. I agree. Yep. Okay. So while we stew on that for a little bit, I want to tell you about what's some of the stuff that's been going on. Now, lately, it feels like I've been running around just putting out fires. You know how that is. You go in one direction, you do something, you got to do something else, this, that, and the other. So I don't even know how long. It was 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, I went and picked up our son's Toyota Sienna because the transmission went out up in South Carolina, towed it back. Fine. They managed to get my buddy is not returning my calls, so I don't know the status if he can fix it or not. So we're kind of stuck with the Sienna sitting here doing nothing. So my son and his wife, they borrowed a car from a friend of theirs. Okay, fine, great. So I come to find out last Sunday, my son was mowing the yard, and a rock flew out of the mower and hit the back glass on his Honda Passport, not the rear, but the side quarter glass. And so he thought he was going to just take care of it. So he called like Safelite Auto Glass. They quoted him $500 to come to his house and fix it. And thankfully, he spoke up to me, and I said, "Hey, when you have a problem like this, you probably should talk to your dad, who has some experience with this." And so I ended up contacting a friend of mine who did glass for us at the body shop. He gave me a heck of a deal. The glass by itself was like $100, and his labor was like $50. So $150 later, I have his back glass fixed in his Honda Passport. But the problem along with that, we had his Passport here at our house, and he was going to borrow my Honda Fit. Let me tell you, this is one of the crazier things that's happened to me, and I feel dumb for not realizing what was going on, but it happens. So my son was going to borrow the car. He jumps in it. I just driven it the day before. Gave him the keys. He went to start it up. Dead. Like dead, 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 dead. There was nothing in the battery. And I'm like, what is going on with this? This is crazy. There's no reason why this car should be dead. The headlights weren't left on. There was nothing. And we tried to jump it. Nothing. It was like, what is going on? So in the meantime, I'm actually putting brakes on my wife's van because my son and daughter-in-law are getting to borrow that for next week to go on a trip because their Sienna's out, right? So I put the jumper cables or my deep cycle battery charger on the Honda Fit, and it sat there and started charging. Well, the brake lights came on, and I'm like, wait a minute. There's no reason these brake lights should be on. Long story short, I thought the switch was bad, Ended up on these modern cars, there's a little rubber bumper that goes on the brake pedal that lines up perfectly with the pin from the brake switch. And it's supposed to make it quiet, right? Or whatever. Well, that bumper and that pin interacted, and sometime in the middle of the night, probably 1 o'clock in the morning, that little rubber pin fell out of the hole, broke apart, fell out of the hole, turned on the brake lights, and killed the battery. And when I went to looking at it, I couldn't see it. I couldn't see that. I could see the hole because it's a black pedal and a white switch, and when you push on the pedal, it looks like it's pushing the plunger down on the switch, but it's really not. It was going through the hole. So I was like, come on. So I finally went and I found a push pin from like putting in body panels, popped one of those in there. We got the car to start and got him on his way. Now, along with all that, last week, my wife was getting something out of her closet and discovered that the floor was all wet. And we live on a concrete slab. The shower is right behind her closet. Apparently, my shower has been leaking water and soaking the floor. She couldn't see it because that's where clothes are hanging. And she moved something below the clothes, and all that was moldy and wet. So, yay! I had to rip all that out and rework the shower and reseal it. And I'm still letting it dry out. It's just been those kind of things that have been continually happening while I'm trying to get stuff done out here in the garage. So I'm hoping that's it. I'm hoping that's everything, and we're good to go for a while. It's been it's been quite the challenge. Still got to get the transmission done in the Toyota somehow, but everything else is working out. And yeah, it's it's a never-ending battle. Okay, that's enough going on. Let me tell you what else. Let's see what else is going on with everybody else. It's just been crazy. Art Man, I've heard that back in the 50s, St. Paul was in the top 5 largest car shows. Newest allowed in is 1964. I believe I'm going to pop in for the swap meet Sunday. That sounds good. That sounds real good. Hugh says, good guys, classic car show in Columbus, Ohio in 2 weeks. I'm going to try to go. Okay. Richard, what is your process for setting the side stripes? What I'm going to do, there's a measurement, right? The measurement is set off of the lower body line. So on these cars where the door skin comes down and then it angles in slightly towards the rocker panel, there's a measurement from that line up. And I think it's 6.5 inches, I think is what the number is. So basically what you do is you'll put tape at 6.5 inches and then wet everything down with a material that you can move the sticker with if you need to. So you bring the sticker up and you make that top edge of that sticker touch your tape at the 6.5 inch mark. You index it left and right so you have overlap that goes around the door, front and back. But you have to get to that 6.5 inch mark. I think that's what the number is. Don't quote me on that. But you set that, and then once you have that in place, you can do the same thing with the quarter panel because it also has that line, and with the fender because it has that line. I think in the back, it's basically the same thing. There's a body line, and you come up so high and set that sticker in place. So it's really not complicated, but it's got to be precise. And whenever I think somebody commented on my Facebook post that they don't remember if I did the decals and stuff at the body shop. And for the most part, I did a lot of that simply because I'm kind of anal on that stuff. And I mean that in a good way. Like, I don't measure once. I don't measure twice. I don't measure 3 times. I might measure 4 times. and I have to see and kind of repeat to myself, that's right, kind of thing, to make sure. We've had instances whenever my buddy was doing all the paint work, and I know he'd get in a hurry sometimes, and you'd lay out a tape, and you might measure what you think is 3 inches or 3.5 inches, but you might be off. And he would run to it and go, well, 3.5 inches, good, and mark it and go. Well, he might have measured 4.5 inches, but he saw that half inch and was done. And so there was more than once he had painted something and a stripe was in the wrong spot, or he had masked it all up. And I came back after him and I checked it, and I'm like, dude, you're off an inch, or half an inch, whatever. And so I'm always just been kind of like, just let me do it. Let me tape it. Let me get it marked. Let me, figure it out. So that's that. But that's the process basically for doing the stripes on the car. I did the same thing with the back. I used a measurement off of the original deck lid, and then I looked up some numbers to see what worked based on Ford drawings or whatever. Because whenever these guys built these things, who knows what they had for a template? I mean, they probably had all these cut to where it would fit the deck lid right on the edge, and just set it there and roll it in and spread it and send it. Because even when I measured, it was I think it was maybe almost an eighth of an inch off from side to side. Nobody cared. Good question, though, Richard. Give you an extra bow. Hugh, sounds like you have my luck with everything happening at once. I blame the gremlins. Yeah, it's just been one thing after another. I'm like, come on, we got to get this. Stop. And then I went, I'm ready to put the stripes on the thing, and I was looking for the spray. And I was like, where did I put it? And I spent like half an hour walking around looking for the spray till I found it, and it was in the other box right here that has the other the hood decal kit. So I put it somewhere where it should be and just forgot. Dave Tyson, what a week. Yeah, it has been. And it feels like there's more. I mean, it feels like there's something else that I have to take care of. I know I have a doctor's evaluation for my hand for potential surgery on it Friday. I got to go get an evaluation done. Yay. That's another thing about getting old. Sometimes stuff doesn't work so good. David, you've been busy. Yes. Amen to that. I have been busy. Artman, brake switch bumper is pretty common now. Worse is the most modern cars don't allow you to use the throttle and brake at the same time, resulting in no acceleration. I've been gluing pennies on them. Okay. Well, like I said, I could not see because the pin went right through that hole. And I'm like, why do you even have this hole here? What is the point? Let the pedal plate push on the button like it's designed. What is the little rubber button for? Hugh, I had a week like yours last week. I told my wife wasn't getting out of bed the rest of the week. Yeah. I wish I had that option. Denny been working on lower front fender to rocker alignment on the 65 Fastback. The fender wanted to kick out behind the wheel, drew out the spot welds, and tucked it in. Fits great now. Yep. Sounds like a familiar repair. I know I did a bunch of that on the convertible project. Richard, thank you for the great answer. I'm really impressed with how that stripe color looks with that body color. I am too. I'm looking forward to the rest of it. I have to get the fender. Well, I always say it, right? Sequence is scored, right? So I really want to put the stripes on the side of the car, and I really can. It's not going to make a difference, but I also know that I want to hang the fenders before I do that. And I can't hang the fenders until I clean up the engine bay of, just dust and dirt, stuff like that. And so there's a sequence to it. So what I'm going to do is try to finish up the back of the car. Maybe put the stripes around the side marker lights, because those long as you're in the ballpark on those, it's not going to make much difference because it actually angles a little bit. If you look at those cars, I don't know if I have a picture of one or not, but the back section, there you go. It kind of maybe it doesn't angle. It kind of gives the impression that it angles. But if you look at that, like this car, you could see the upper body line. That stripe is not parallel to that upper body line. I don't know if it's supposed to be. This car, you can look, the back section looks like it's higher than the front section, but that stripe looks parallel to the upper body line and the lower body line. So this one may just be more of a custom car. I don't know if I have another shot of a Mach 1 specifically. I thought I did. I don't see one. But I will use the measurements like they did at the factory and that body line and use a tape like I normally would. There's a Shelby. Of course, that's completely different, but same idea. Um, Yeah, I don't have another shot available right now. So anyway, that's I'll use what the like the factory what they did and try to make it line up like it should, hopefully. But I can finish it. I think I can finish the back of the car. So Mark says the stripe looks crooked on the green car. So when you say green, I guess you're meaning this one. And I kind of see that. That's what I'm saying. It looks like it's angled, but that is a custom. I think that's a custom build too. So yeah, I'll investigate, figure out what makes sense. But anyway, so there's going to be more parts. Like I said, new side marker lights, new backup lights, new turn signals or parking lights up front. I've got all new hardware for the headlight buckets and adjustment stuff. So I have all that ready to go. Um, these vent windows, we're going to get new seals for the stainless strips. I have to talk about that too, now that I think about it. But I'm going to put the stainless strips in and the new seals, and they come back down and they connect with the boomerang, basically, as part of the quarter window. So here's something, and we talk about the cost of parts, the cost of shipping, all these things that add up to us, right? I had a guy contact me last week, and he's building a '67 coupe, and he had mistakenly pulled out the stainless steel weather stripping pieces and tossed them. And I know a lot of people do that, and I'm not sure. I don't know. I guess I was brought up thinking or working with stuff that you had to either reuse it or spend money to get a new one, right? So I always tried to salvage everything I could that was reusable for whatever project. And those strips, they don't make them for a coupe. So this guy had ripped them out of the car, I guess, or maybe they weren't with the car. Maybe somebody else took them out. I don't know the whole story, but they were removed from the car, and he was looking for a set, and so he contacted me, and I happen to have a few. I was able to get a hold of about 3 or 4, maybe 5 sets from a friend of mine, just because we were doing some trading, and he said, "Here, I'll give you it was like 4 or 5 sets of these," and I gave him something in exchange. And so I told the guy, "Yeah, I have a set. I have a set." And so we talked about making a deal on it, and I was able to box them up And it's crazy what the shipping is on stuff like that, because the box itself was about a little under 5 feet long, right? Because you can't bend those, you'll ruin them. So the box is about 5 feet long, about 5.5 inches wide, 5 inches wide or something, and then whatever, 18 inches tall or 20 inches tall. But the box itself, those strips inside, weighed like 5 pounds or maybe 6 pounds tops. And I thought, surely this can't be that bad a thing to ship. So I went to UPS, UPS first, and I handed them the box. I said, "Here's the address. What's it going to cost?" Does anybody want to guess what it would cost? And this was to California, by the way. This was shipping a set of those stainless strips to California. I want you all to guess. And this is Northern California, from Georgia to Northern California. So I want you all to guess a little bit on what it costs to ship a 6-pound box, a big box, right? That doesn't weigh anything, from basically Atlanta to Northern California, almost to Oregon, I guess. And so I went to UPS first, and had a little sticker shock. And I thought, well, what can I do here? So I went back and I cut down the box about 6 inches. And I I trimmed out what I could to make it as small and narrow as possible. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to take this box to the post office. Yeah, because they're so efficient. I'm going to take this to the post office and see what it would cost. So today, I go to the post office. Before I went back to UPS, I went to the post office, and they put this thing on a scale, like I said, 6 pounds. And the shipping, the first number said like $41. And I thought, oh, okay. And then she pulled out the tape measure, started measuring. And then she come back and said $283 to ship that box from Atlanta to Northern California for the post office. And I was like, oh, that's not going to happen. So I'm going to back up now. The first time I took the box to UPS, it was $222 for that box, 6 pounds, to go from Atlanta to Northern California. $222. After I trimmed it down, made it shorter a little bit, as much as I could, it ended up being $214. $214 to ship those from Georgia to California. So Rusty had said $200. Gerhard, $125. Hugh said $65. Those I would have gladly paid $65. Troy was $150. Rick Stevenson $130, and Richard says $75. Yeah, and Hugh says, I ship a lot of parts. UPS is usually cheaper than the post office. Yeah, it is. But I was shocked. And so I communicated with the guy. I told him, I said, hey, look, we had made an arrangement. And I said, here's what it's going to cost. And he was like, I got to have them. Send them. So I don't know what the availability is anywhere else out in the country, but I've told people this before, any of that stainless trim from any of these cars, hang on to it. Even if you're scrapping the car, hang on to those pieces, because eventually somebody is going to need them, right? Somebody. So, yeah, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Ed Cucurella, and did they ask if you wanted insurance? Yes, they did. Yeah. So I did put some insurance on that box. But, man, $214 to ship a 6-pound box because it's just big. That's it. That's it. So now you know. And then the other day, I had shown it before on Facebook and stuff. I had gotten that box of the exhaust from um, for this car. I can't think of the name of the company now, but the box was just beat to death, and it was FedEx. And I had thought about going to FedEx to ship those pieces, and I'm like, you know what? I already know they're going to run over these with a truck, so I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to give FedEx the opportunity. It says sad and Dave Tyson. Check on fenders. Check on fenders cost more for shipping. Oh yeah, well, yeah, they're big. It's a big box. I get that, but it's just shocking whenever the box only weighs 6 pounds, and I mean, you're shipping a bunch of air in that box, but you can't fold those things. You cannot collapse them down. There's just no way that you could, do anything else with them. I know I shipped a set of those a couple of years ago over to somebody in Europe because they did the same thing. They were rebuilding the car and they thought, oh, I'll just get new ones of these and just ripped them out. And then sure enough, they didn't have them anymore. They couldn't get them. And so I actually, for that shipment, I made a box out of 2x2 wood. I made a frame out of 2x2s. I put brackets in the corners so it was stiff, wouldn't move, and I even put some cross bracing in the corners to stiffen it up. Made it as small as I could for those two pieces to fit inside, and then I layered it with 2 layers of cardboard on the outside, stapled it, taped it all up, and they arrived safe and sound. But it was somewhere over in Europe that I sent those things, and the guy was very happy to have them because they can't get them. They don't have any of these cars sitting around over there. Hugh says FedEx around me is horrible. I watch them deliver the neighbors' packages and they throw them onto the porch and they drive like NASCAR drivers. Yeah. Yeah. Gerhard says, what are they worth? Well, it depends. It depends. This set, the set that I think the set that I sent to Europe, we agreed on $120 for the pair. I think is what it came to, and that's basically what I charged the other guy, $120 for the pair. But they don't make them. You can get them for the fastback. They make them for these cars, but they don't make them for the coupes. And the reason is they don't consider it a worth the value, worth the time, because how many people are, they look at it as most people are rebuilding or creating fastbacks, and so they need parts for those. But there's just no value in a company making those for the coupe. You have them on the 67 coupe you got. Yeah, well, hang on to them. I mean, it may seem silly, but I've already sold 2 sets of these. Well, I would say already. I've sold 2 sets of these in the last 5 years. But still, to me, it's worth it because if somebody needs them, I can help them out and maybe make a few bucks on the side. It's just the way it is. So just keep that in mind. But don't trash them. If you pull them out, when you take them out, be very careful. I use a long scraper blade and get above and break that tape loose slowly. Never just pull on those things because you'll kink them. You'll bend them up. A lot of people make that mistake. They think they can just pull on them and they'll come loose, and that tape is pretty tough. It will the tape will hold on strong enough to make the metal bend, and it's kind of difficult to straighten those back out. Hugh, I have a set on my 67 parts car plus a spare set for my 67. Maybe I will hang on to them. 68 should be the same size. And actually, I think 65 to 68 are the same. Yeah, I think they're the same. From 65 to 68. I believe they are the same. I don't think that's one of the things, whenever you look at these cars, the like the floor pans, they're all the same. Rocker panels on these the 65 and 6, they just kind of changed the the quarter and a little bit of the roof, but I think the window opening and all that I think is the same. I think, but regardless, they're worth holding on to, and especially like the on for a coupe, the window trim in the back. So they don't, as far as I know, they don't reproduce that, and so that you got those long tapered strips that go on the side on the 67 and 8, and then the the back, the narrower pieces that go on the top and bottom. They they don't uh, they don't make those that I know of, at least not in stainless. So those are worth hanging on to too. Greg's Workshop's checking in from Australia. Hi Barry, the car paint is looking very good. Thank you, sir. Hope all is well with you, Greg. I'm guessing you're in the middle of uh, or starting winter, I guess, at this point, or in the middle of winter, I think. So hope you're staying warm down there in the land down under. Um, Other things going on. Oh, here's something I want to express because you all know that I put in these new airlines, right? I use that PEX, whatever it is, or I don't know whatever they call it, but I put in those new airlines. I have no complaints about the airlines themselves. Everything is working like it should. However, I have to tell you, I've had 3 separations. 3. Now, I don't know if it was because when I got in a hurry and when I put these together initially, I just kind of made them hand tight. I don't remember because I know when I went to tighten them up, my crescent wrench wouldn't fit the nut. So I try to turn my air off in my garage every night, and I went to turn it on one morning, and when I did, the one up there at the corner, it had come apart and it was leaking air. And so I went up there and put the crescent wrench on it, and I was like, man, this wrench doesn't want to fit. So I don't know for sure if I tighten them at all or if I just put them on hand tight and thought I'll come back to it because I was trying to get it all done as quickly as I could. So I had that one fail. I had one come apart in the paint booth, which was just where I have a drain valve set up. It separated. And then last week, maybe it was the week before, I'd left the air on. And a lot of times, if I'm laying in bed and I hear it running, I may actually get up and come out and turn the air back off. But I didn't hear it running. And that morning, my wife had walked the dog. She didn't say anything to me about the air compressor running, but it had to have been running. Because I come out after her and I was like, boy, that compressor shouldn't be running this long. And sure enough, a line had come loose in the back of not in the paint booth, but at the back corner of the shop. And the compressor had been running for I don't know how long. I mean, like that thing was hot. So I had to, shut it off, open up my door on it to let it cool, and then reconnected those lines and went around and was double checking everything for being tight. And the same situation back there, I had a hard time getting the crescent wrench on. So I may not have had them as tight as they should have been. But I want to point that out because if you're using these blue airlines, and somebody else had told me they had a problem with them too one time, make sure you shut your air off. Either the compressor power or the I have a ball valve that I shut off the air. So I even put a switch up here on the wall, or a sticker on the wall that says air off, because I want to make sure that I don't leave that compressor running because it might just turn on and keep running all night. Just some information for you. Hugh says I have tons of that black back glass trim. Also, maybe I do have something of value and not just junk. Yeah. Now, granted, a lot of people are just taking these coupes and turning them into convertibles. I mean, into fastbacks. But for the random person who doesn't realize that these pieces need to be saved and they inadvertently scrap them, they're going to be looking for them. So they are worth hanging on to. Gerhard, it is a parts car. I have both doors complete with glass and handles. What are they worth? The metal is not good, all rusted. They're not worth much of nothing. Just be honest. If the doors are all rusted up, um, they're just they're the only thing invaluable on those doors is probably the hinges if you have them. Um, maybe the window regulators, maybe, and uh, any other mechanisms that you can salvage, door latch or something like that. And it may not be worth saving. But as far as the doors themselves, nobody's looking for a rusted door to try to salvage. They'll just buy one and try to rebuild. Try to get, even though the aftermarket ones are not great, they'll still try to reuse or get new ones. Rusty says same thing happened to me with the same setup. Blue line blew apart. Had to tighten up. Yeah, and I like I said, I don't know if I just threaded them on by hand and gave them a good crank and thought I'll come back to it. Maybe, but just something to keep track of. Make sure you turn the air off because I know I don't want to replace the air compressor. Dan's repairs. What is the best way to remove a windshield installed with 5/16 butyl, 73 Barracuda already painted? Something hit the windshield going down the highway from the opposite lane and put a crack in it. Ooh. So you say it's got 5/16 butyl. So it has like the original style butyl. Butyl is very soft. Now, is there an easy answer? I can tell you what we used to do, and I can give you some ideas, but it's already painted. It's kind of tough. So obviously, you got to get the trim off, right? Believe it or not, me and my brother used to cut windshields out of those old cars all the time with a piece of wire, like safety wire type of wire. Okay. You may be able to do it with fishing line. I don't know. You'd have to get really industrial strength fishing line. But basically, you've got to take a little screwdriver and push a hole through the butyl, push the wire through on the edge, grab it, and pull the wire through the hole that you created. Put a pair of vice grips on that wire on one end, somebody else on the inside with a pair of vice grips, and saw it back and forth as you push around that window. Okay. Sometimes you may want to get, I know the glass is already broken. You may want to get like a little wedge or something and put up in a corner. If you start it in the corner and you get it loose, because that butyl will try to stick back to itself. But once you cut it, it should be okay. But you may want to just take a little wedge or something. You could use like a piece of wood from the shim kit, right? Push that up in the corner and then work your way around the windshield. Now, we would start like in a lower corner and work our way up and around the top. And then somebody could push on the top of the windshield and somebody else can take maybe a razor knife and cut the butyl across the bottom to help get it loose. But we pulled out, my brother and I pulled probably hundreds of windshields out and back glass using nothing but wire and a couple pair of vice grips. Now, it's painted, so you have to keep that wire up against the edge of the glass, and just be careful with that. You could just take your time, really. But there's a variety of ways you could put tape and stuff like that to try to protect your paint. But that's the way I've always done it. And I guess there's probably other ways. You could use a razor blade. They make those long handle razor knives, which I can. Hang on, I have one. I'll grab it and show it to you so you have an idea of what I'm talking about. So they make these. These are professional glass cutters. Use these. So you've got a nice foam handle on one end, and you can grab this on the other end and push it in. So you could try one of these too, and that might be another option. But good question. Hopefully that gave you a good answer. Hugh says you want to save the weather strip or just replace it. I think it's butyl, so it's. I don't think he's got a weather strip like we're thinking. Those some of the cars just had the glass just set in with a butyl strip around. I know GM did that a lot. Gerhard, for my shop compressor, I have it set up with a Shelly device. It is programmed to stop the compressor when it will continually run for 20 minutes. Did it with a relay switch. Okay, that's a great idea. Also, I can change the timing, but ordinarily it will never run longer than 20 minutes. Okay, that's a good default thing to have. Dan's Repairs original butyl style. I put it in about 5 years ago. Yeah. So yeah, that's what you can use. Use one of those long cutting knives or some sort of wire. Safety wire works. Um, believe it or not, whenever we and this is old junkyard story. You know what? Here you go. Since we're on the subject, junkyard story time. I haven't done one of these in a while. We used to, swap tires on cars all the time, on rims. We had an old tire machine, and it was just a hand operated. Like it had the air compressed thing that would pop it off the rim, or break the bead, but you had to use the bar, pull it off, or put a new one on, all that stuff. And occasionally, because it was a good heat source in the wintertime, my brother would take old car tires and stuff them into a furnace that we had and burn them. This was the 70s. Nobody cared. But when you were done with that, the bands for the tire were unbelievably strong. So we would save those bands from the bead of the tire, I think it was. I think it was the bead. Anyway, we would save those bands, not a lot of them, but we would use those to cut out windshields because we didn't have safety wire at that time. We didn't have any kind of good wire. But those wire bands that were in the tires, even after being burned, were strong enough that we could cut out windshields with. So, just one of those junkyard stories, long time ago in a land far away, right? Artman says guitar string is like serrated wire. That's true. That is very true. Yeah. I would just use safety wire myself. Just get a piece of safety wire. If you got two people, can work together. Take your time. Don't get in a hurry. But that's what I would normally do. It's what I learned how to do when I was a kid. Hugh says different topic. The paper moisture barrier behind my door cards was rotted. Can I just use a plastic garbage bag instead and use those strips of caulking to hold it? Yes and no. Yes and no. My understanding of that paper barrier, which is actually coated with like a wax, if I remember correctly, the intent of that isn't so much a moisture barrier as it is a deflector. And what I mean is, whenever that is in like the quarter windows, let's say, or behind the doors, and I'm going to cover two things here. So, like on the quarter windows, that paper starts off on the inside, or let's say the inner portion of the inner structure of the quarter section of the car, right? But then the paper is supposed to come down and tuck in. And the idea is with water hitting that, it would come and roll forward or roll outboard, let's say, into the drain of the rocker panel. That was the intent with that paper cardboard stuff. Now with the door, now that I'm thinking about it a little more, that would have been the same idea, but it just would have been the paper cardboard material. And the door, I think you're okay with some sort of plastic if you wanted to put it in there. Um, I don't think it would make much difference. You could probably use um, a sheet of, like the industrial plastic that's thick, that you like cover stuff up with whenever you're working in a garage or something, and they sell you that plastic construction. I would probably use some of that versus like a plastic bag. That way you could actually cut it and get it to the shape that you want. But I wouldn't have any problem with that. You could use that in a quarter window too, but again, that is meant to be a deflector to get it down into the rocker panel portion or out away from the door. But yeah, I would use the heavy duty industrial plastic stuff. Good question. Dave Tyson says piano wire. Yes. Well, and I say safety wire by default because odds are the chances of somebody having safety wire is probably greater than them having a guitar string or piano wire or something along those lines. So that's why I say safety wire, because most people, I say most, I think a lot of people have like a roll of safety wire. At least that's my thought. Hugh, I know they use plastic on newer cars now. Yes. Yeah, there's no reason you can't use that. Because that little bit of butyl that holds that in place, it's doing the same thing that cardboard stuff, paper cardboard thing would be doing. Same idea. So, okay. I know I've been doing this for about an hour and almost 10 minutes now. So we've been having, as I've said in the thing, I said anyone needs some rain, because we've been having a lot of rain, lots of storms. We've had some really high winds, trees snapping off, and just all kinds of stuff going on, as many of us have experienced across the country. And I know it's always stressful. I know for me, it is. But we've had some pretty big storms around here. I know that they're calling for storms over this whole week. And, that's the other thing. Like, thankfully, I was able to get the yard mowed today. I know Robert had said he had tried to mow his yard. It was like 96 degrees. I was like, I don't care how hot it is. I've got to get the yard mowed because it's going to rain on me some more. So, I think that's going to be it for tonight. I'm getting a little out of my throat's getting a little bit sore, and it's going to be my wife, I think, is making something to eat. So I do plan to have a video coming out. I know I've been having trouble with my software, and I made the last video using my iPhone. I really don't want to do that unless I have to, but we'll see what happens. So that'll be it for tonight's show. I do plan to be back next Monday at 7:00 once again. So I welcome you all back then. That'll be 23rd, I think is what it works out to be. So we'll see how much I can get done between now and then on the Cobra Jet. But as it is, that's it for tonight. So until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.